I sold your house. My mother-in-law's smug voice crackled through my phone. Julia needs a proper home to start her life with Daniel, and you clearly don't deserve this place. I stood in the makeshift medical tent in rural Guatemala, where I'd been volunteering for the past 3 weeks, and felt an odd sense of calm wash over me. After 8 years of marriage to Daniel, Margaret's attempts to undermine me had become almost predictable. That's interesting, I replied, keeping my voice steady as I organized medical supplies. And how exactly did you manage that? Daniel gave me power of attorney while you're off playing hero in whatever third world country you're in, she said, her satisfaction evident. The papers are already signed. Julia and Daniel will move in next week. Don't bother coming back. There's nothing here for you anymore. I couldn't help but smile, though Margaret couldn't see it. Well, good luck with that. I hope everything works out exactly as it should. My calm response clearly threw her off. What's that supposed to mean? She demanded, her voice sharp. You've lost, Amanda. Just accept it with some dignity. I ended the call and took a deep breath, looking out at the mountains surrounding our medical camp. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. 3 weeks ago, I left for this medical mission knowing my marriage was in trouble, but I hadn't expected Margaret to make such a bold move. Daniel, my husband of 8 years, had been distant for months, working late at his architectural firm, coming home with perfume on his clothes that wasn't mine. I found receipts for expensive restaurants I'd never been to, heard whispered phone conversations that ended abruptly when I entered the room. Then came Julia, his new assistant, 24 and fresh out of college, with her perfect smile and seemingly innocent questions about our marriage. But Margaret, she'd been working against me from day one. From the moment Daniel brought me home 8 years ago, she'd made it clear I wasn't good enough for her precious son. Never mind that I was a successful emergency room doctor, that I'd worked my way through medical school, that I'd saved lives. To Margaret, I was just the woman who took her son away. What Margaret didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been prepared for something like this. 6 months ago, when I first suspected Daniel's affair, I'd visited my family lawyer, Eleanor Chen. We'd spent hours going over my options, securing my assets, and most importantly, protecting the house that had been in my family for generations. The house. My grandfather had built it with his own hands in 1960, a beautiful Victorian-style home overlooking the city. He passed it down to my father, who'd given it to me when I finished medical school. It was my sanctuary, my heritage, and apparently the perfect target for Margaret's latest scheme to get rid of me. I pulled out my phone again and dialed Eleanor's number. She answered on the second ring. It's happening, I said simply. Margaret just called to tell me she sold my house. Says Daniel gave her power of attorney. Eleanor's laugh was sharp and satisfied. Did she now? And I assume this power of attorney document materialized out of thin air, since we've had Daniel's actual power of attorney locked in my safe for the past 5 months. Apparently so, I replied, feeling a wave of gratitude for my lawyer's foresight. She says the papers are signed and Julia's moving in next week. Well, Eleanor said, and I could hear her typing in the background. I've just sent emails to the police, the county recorder's office, and RPI. Any attempt to sell that house without your signature is fraud, and we've got everything documented. Would you like me to proceed with pressing charges? I thought about Margaret's smugness, about Daniel's betrayal, about Julia's innocent act. Yes, I said firmly. It's time they learned actions have consequences. Consider it done, Eleanor replied. And Amanda. The security cameras we installed caught Daniel bringing Julia to the house last week. The footage has been added to our documentation. I closed my eyes, feeling a mixture of pain and vindication. Thank you, Eleanor. Keep me updated. After hanging up, I walked back into the medical tent where my team was preparing for afternoon rounds. The work here was real, meaningful, far from the drama Margaret was trying to create. I'd come on this mission not to run away, but to remind myself of who I was beyond Daniel's wife or Margaret's target. Dr. Santos, my colleague, looked up from a patient chart. Everything okay, Amanda? You look like you just got some interesting news. I smiled, thinking about the storm that was about to hit back home. Just my mother-in-law being her usual self. Nothing I can't handle. Ah, family drama, he nodded knowingly. Sometimes the best medicine is distance. And documentation, I added, making him laugh. As I turned my attention back to our patients, I couldn't help but wonder what Margaret's face would look like when she realized exactly what she'd done. The house wasn't just protected legally. It was part of a historic trust, meaning any sale would have to go through a board of trustees. Trustees who, coincidentally, included Eleanor and my father's oldest friend, a retired judge. Margaret thought she was finally getting rid of me, giving my home to Daniel's young mistress. Instead, she was about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating the wrong person. I almost felt sorry for what was coming. Almost. 2 days after Margaret's call, my phone started buzzing with frantic messages. I was suturing a young boy's arm when the first wave came through. Amanda, we need to talk right now. Daniel. This is ridiculous. Answer your phone. Margaret. You're making a huge mistake. Unknown number, probably Julia. I finished the sutures, carefully bandaged the wound, and stepped outside the tent to check my voicemail. Eleanor had left a message that made me smile. The police just arrested Margaret for attempted real estate fraud. She tried to file forged documents with the county recorder's office. Daniel's claiming he knew nothing about it, but our PI's footage shows him entering the office with her last week. They're both in quite a mess. Call me when you can. I sat down on a wooden bench outside the medical tent, watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of orange and pink. Another message came through, this one from my father's friend Judge Thompson. Your grandmother would be proud, Amanda. Margaret tried to push this sale through the historic trust board today. When I showed her the original deed and trust documents, she turned whiter than my courtroom wig. The satisfaction I felt wasn't about revenge, it was about justice. Margaret had spent years trying to push me out of Daniel's life, but this time she pushed too far. My phone rang again. Daniel. After 8 years of marriage, I knew his patterns. He'd be trying to charm his way out of this, to make me feel like I was overreacting. This time, I decided to answer. Amanda, baby, you need to stop this, he said immediately, his voice taking on that soothing tone he used when he wanted something. Mom was just trying to help us. Julia and I. We're in love. Can't we handle this like adults? I watched a hummingbird dart between flowers as I replied. Like adults? You mean like how you adultly had an affair with your assistant? Or how you adultly let your mother try to steal my family home? I didn't know she was going to do that, he protested weakly. Really? So you weren't with her at the county recorder's office last week? Because the security cameras say otherwise, Daniel. Silence. The house has been in my family for 3 generations, I continued, my voice steady. My grandfather built it. My father grew up there. I was born there. Did you really think I wouldn't protect it? You're being vindictive, he accused, his charm evaporating. Julia's pregnant. We need a home. The news should have hurt more than it did. Instead, I felt oddly detached. Congratulations, I'm sure Margaret will be thrilled. But you'll need to find another house. This isn't over, he threatened. Actually, it is. Check your email. My lawyer sent over the divorce papers an hour ago. And Daniel? The police want to talk to you about your role in the fraud attempt. I hung up before he could respond. Dr. Santos appeared with 2 cups of coffee, offering me one. More family drama, he asked, nodding at my phone. My husband's girlfriend is pregnant, I said, surprised at how little emotion the words carried. And my mother-in-law just got arrested for trying to steal my house. He whistled low. That's quite a day. How are you holding up? I considered the question. You know what's strange? I feel relieved, like I finally put down a heavy weight I didn't even know I was carrying. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the betrayal, he offered wisely. It's admitting to yourself that you deserve better. My phone buzzed again. Eleanor. She had news about Margaret's arrest and the investigation into Daniel's involvement. But for now, I just wanted to sit here, drink my coffee, and watch the sunset over mountains that didn't care about failed marriages or scheming mothers-in-law. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, patients to treat, lives to save, a divorce to navigate. But tonight, I had the satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the best revenge is simply being prepared. Dr. Santos raised his coffee cup to new beginnings. I smiled, clinking my cup against his, to being prepared. In the distance, thunder rolled across the mountains, promising rain and renewal. Just like the storms back home, this too would pass, leaving everything cleaner and clearer in its wake. A month later, I stood in my grandfather's, my kitchen, running my hand along the familiar marble countertop. The morning light streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the floor. The house felt different now, cleaner somehow, as if Margaret's scheme had washed away the last traces of unhappiness that had lingered here. Eleanor sat at the breakfast nook, spreading files across the antique table. The judge threw the book at Margaret, she said, sliding a document toward me. Attempted real estate fraud, forgery, filing false documents. She's looking at significant fines and probation. And Daniel pleaded ignorance, but the evidence was clear. He's been charged as an accomplice. His firm put him on indefinite leave. Apparently, they don't appreciate partners who participate in real estate fraud. I poured us both coffee in my grandmother's old china cups. And Julia? Left town last week. Apparently, the pregnancy was as real as Margaret's power of attorney. Eleanor's eyes twinkled with barely suppressed amusement. She found another job in Seattle. The news should have hurt, but instead, I felt only a wave of relief. All those years of trying to please Margaret, of ignoring Daniel's increasing distance, of doubting myself, they seemed like a strange dream now. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Santos. Hospital board approved our proposal for the free clinic. When can you start? I smiled, showing Eleanor the message. During my time in Guatemala, Dr. Santos and I had developed a plan to open a free medical clinic in our city. The work we'd done there had reminded me of why I became a doctor in the first place, to help people, to make a difference. Life has a funny way of working out, Eleanor mused, sipping her coffee. If Margaret hadn't tried to steal your house, you might still be trapped in an unhappy marriage, working at a hospital you've grown to resent. She was right. The past month had brought more than just legal victories, it had brought clarity. I'd resigned from my old hospital position, excited to start fresh with a clinic project. The house, once a source of tension with Daniel and Margaret, had become my sanctuary again. A knock at the door interrupted our conversation. Through the stained glass, I recognized Margaret's silhouette. Eleanor raised an eyebrow, but I nodded. It was time to face this. Margaret looked smaller somehow, less intimidating than I remembered. Her perfectly coiffed hair couldn't hide the strain in her face. Amanda, she said stiffly, I came to apologize. I gestured for her to sit on the porch swing where my grandfather used to tell me stories. She perched on the edge, clearly uncomfortable. I was wrong, she continued, the words seeming to physically pain her. I thought I was protecting Daniel, but I destroyed everything instead. You never gave me a chance, I said quietly. From the day we met, you decided I wasn't good enough. She looked out at the garden, where my grandmother's roses still bloomed. No, I was the one who wasn't good enough. I couldn't accept that Daniel had found someone successful, independent. It reminded me of everything I'd given up to be the perfect wife and mother. The honesty surprised me, but it changed nothing. I hope you find peace, Margaret, but I think it's best if we don't see each other again. She nodded, standing slowly. The house, it's beautiful. I see now why you fought so hard to protect it. It's not just about the house, I replied. It's about standing up for yourself, about not letting others decide your worth. After she left, I returned to the kitchen where Eleanor waited. You okay? She asked. Better than okay, I smiled. I'm free. Looking around the house, I saw not just my grandfather's legacy, but my own future. The front room would make a perfect waiting area for the clinic's overflow patients. The large basement could store medical supplies. This house, which Margaret had tried to take from me, would help me give back to others. Dr. Santos was right. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the betrayal. It's admitting you deserve better. But standing here, in my grandfather's house, surrounded by generations of love and strength, I knew I finally learned that lesson. Eleanor gathered her files, pausing at the door. You know, when you first came to me about protecting the house, I thought you were being paranoid. I'm glad you proved me wrong. I hugged her, grateful for her guidance through the storm. Sometimes the best defense is being prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. As the afternoon sun painted the walls with light through the stained glass windows, I felt at peace. Margaret, Daniel, Julia, they had all underestimated me and in doing so had set me free. My grandfather had built this house as a legacy of love. Now it would become a legacy of healing, both for me and for others. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, on your own terms, in a house built with love and protected by wisdom.